There's a room in the mountains of Peru, still standing today, about 22 feet long, 17 wide. In 1533, the most powerful man in the Americas stood inside it, reached as high as his arm could go, and drew a line on the wall. "Fill this room with gold," he said, "to here," and they did. The largest ransom in human history, 6 tons of gold, twice that in silver. And here's the thing, it bought him absolutely nothing. Now, you've probably heard how this story goes. 168 Spaniards brought down an empire of millions. Bravest gamble in history. Yeah, that's not really what happened. The empire those men walked into was already bleeding to death, and it had never even seen a Spaniard. This is the rise and fall of Atahualpa, the last emperor of the Inca, and it begins with a killer nobody could see. Step back a decade. The Inca Empire is the largest in the Americas, 10 million people, stitched along the spine of the Andes by 25,000 miles of stone roads. Messages run those roads by relay, faster than a horse. It is, by any measure, a superpower. And then, people start dying. A sickness no healer has ever seen sweeps the empire, fevers, sores, whole villages gone quiet. 5 centuries on, historians still argue about what it actually was. The textbooks say smallpox, racing ahead of the Europeans. The record is murkier than that, but here's what's not in question: who it killed. The emperor himself, Huayna Capac, lord of the 4 quarters of the world. And before the crown could even reach him, his chosen heir, dead of the same sickness. 2 rulers, 1 plague, no succession. The disease had beaten the Spaniards to the Andes by years, sprinting down the empire's own perfect roads. The Inca state was a body with its head cut off, and it had 2 sons left. In Cusco, the capital, Huascar, the legitimate heir, crowned by the nobility. 1,000 miles north, in Quito, Atahualpa, the younger son, the one who'd spent 10 years at his father's side, at war with the empire's best generals and its most battle-hardened army. You can see where this is going. For 5 years, the 2 brothers circle each other, and then the empire rips in half. The civil war that follows is the bloodiest the Andes had ever seen. Town against town, the dead in the tens of thousands. Atahualpa loses early. The records claim he was even captured and escaped. Then his veterans grind south, battle after battle, and break Huascar's army at the gates of Cusco. His brother, taken alive. His brother's family, not so lucky. April 1532, Atahualpa has won. All of it. The largest empire in the Americas has a new master, camped at a quiet mountain town called Cajamarca, waiting to march home in triumph. And in that exact moment, that precise month, strangers come up the coast road. 168 of them. Atahualpa's scouts watch the Spaniards for days. They count them, 106 on foot, 62 on horses, animals no Inca has ever seen. He has 80,000 soldiers, fresh from victory, camped around him. So when word comes that the strangers want to meet, he lets them come, not out of innocence, out of contempt. His plan, the chronicles tell us, was simple: take them prisoner, keep the horses. Here's the dark joke of it: both sides walked into that square, planning the exact same trap. November the 16th, 1532, dusk. Atahualpa enters Cajamarca's great plaza the way a god travels, on a litter carried by 80 lords, thousands of attendants ahead of him in ceremonial dress, singing. Weapons left behind as protocol demanded. The square is empty. One man walks out to meet him, a friar carrying a small book. Through a translator, the friar talks of a new god and a distant king. Atahualpa takes the book, turns it over, holds it to his ear, some accounts say. It doesn't speak. He throws it down. And the square explodes. Cannon fire from the buildings, cavalry out of the alleyways, bells tied to the horses to make them thunder. In about an hour, thousands of Inca are dead. The Spanish losses, 0, not 1 man. The only Spaniard wounded that day was Pizarro himself, cut by his own soldier's blade, as he shielded Atahualpa from it. Because Pizarro understood something his men didn't. Dead, this man was nothing. Alive, he was a key to an empire. Which brings us back to the room. Atahualpa, in chains, notices what the strangers love. They don't want food or land or titles. They want metal, so he makes his offer. This room once with gold. A smaller one twice over with silver. 2 months. Everyone remembers it as a deal, treasure for freedom. Except, and this is the detail that changes everything, the historian John Hemming went through every early chronicle, and no Spaniard ever promised to release him. Not once. Not in writing, not in word. The most famous broken promise in history was never made. He wasn't buying his freedom. He was buying days. And while the gold came in, llama caravan after llama caravan, Atahualpa kept ruling. From a cell, messengers ran the roads, orders went out. And one of those orders, the chronicles say, was for his brother. Huascar, the rival, the prisoner, quietly killed. Did Atahualpa command it, fearing the Spaniards would crown his brother instead? The Spanish swore he did, then made it a charge at his trial. We will never know for certain. By summer, the line on the wall was met. And then the forges were lit. Golden gardens, maize with silver stems, life-size llamas, a fountain. The masterworks of a civilization, hammered flat, melted and poured into bars, months of fires to turn art into weight. Then came the rumor, an Inca army, somewhere in the mountains, coming to free him. The Spaniards panicked. The one captain who'd befriended the emperor, Hernando de Soto, was conveniently sent away to go check. And while he was gone, they held a trial. Treason, idolatry, the murder of his brother, the sentence to be burned alive. And this is where it gets cruel. To the Inca, the body had to endure. Burn it, and the soul has nowhere to return. So the friar made an offer. Convert, be baptized, and you'll be strangled instead. Mercy, by Garrote. On a July evening in 1533, some records say August. In the same square where his world had ended, it was done. He died with a borrowed name, Francisco. His captor's name. They burned his clothes, and some of his skin anyway. De Soto rode back days later. There was no army. There had never been an army. Even Spain's own king was furious. Conquistadors do not get to execute kings. But it was done. The Spaniards crowned a puppet emperor, then another. The conquest, they tell you, took an afternoon. It took 40 more years of war. But the empire, the real one, died in that square with one man. So, did 168 soldiers really conquer an empire? Or did they just finish what a virus and a civil war had started? Historians have argued it for 500 years. Here's the version we keep coming back to. If the plague had spared the emperor, if 2 brothers had never gone to war, would any of it, the square, the room, the garrote, have worked at all? Every empire believes it is the exception. The Inca built roads to outrun time itself, and believed it too. What became of them is what becomes of us.